On this episode of Miss Pursuit, Sarah Honadel joins us for a conversation about how important having a support group is. We also talk about how her hunting career has grown from being a non-hunter to being a hunter to growing in our community and being a writer for the outdoors. She is a huge supporter of other women in our community and other hunters, and I think that you're really going to enjoy this episode. Welcome to another episode of Miss Pursuit. Today we've got, your Instagram handle, I'd kind of like for you to explain that because you're Sarah Honadel, right? And
Yes.
Your Instagram is Waddy Sarah. So tell me a little bit, first off, how you came up with that.
So Waddy is the town I lived in Kentucky.
Yes.
That's simple.
I love it. See, we're both.
I think most people probably think it's something to do with Michael Waddell, but not at all. Yeah, Waddy is the town I lived in Kentucky.
I love it. No, we're both, because you're originally from Kentucky. I'm from Tennessee, kind of that southern state area, but you are no longer in Kentucky. You have moved out west.
I did. In 2017, well, I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, right in the middle of like downtown Louisville, very urban, not outdoorsy at all.
Yeah.
And then back in, like 2008, I moved out to the country to Waddy. And then in 2017, we decided to move to Idaho. And here we are. We've been here since.
I love that. And that's, people think when they hear Kentucky and they're not from Kentucky, they think horse state, they think major hunting, very agricultural, very country. And you don't understand that there's a lot of city in Kentucky. You're not, I think I was in 7th grade, and this was a long, long time ago. And I had a friend move down from Chicago to Western Tennessee, and she expected every single person to be in overalls and barefoot.
Yeah.
And, we've got Nashville here, and we've got but it's not everybody grows up in the country. Not everybody grows up when you're living in the South and in agricultural areas and farm areas and that kind of thing. Not everybody has that opportunity. So when did the outdoors happen for you?
So when I was 28, I met my boyfriend, John. And he was from Florida originally and living in Kentucky because of work. And he had been hunting since he was like a kid. And it was completely new to me. And the first fall that we were together, I pretty much never saw him because he was always deer hunting. And I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of interesting. Like something I'd not really been exposed to before. Like my stepdad hunted occasionally when I was a kid, but we weren't really exposed to it. I don't ever remember him bringing home like a deer. If he did, and when my mom cooked it, we did not know.
Yeah.
So it was completely new to me. So when John would bring home like a deer and butcher it in the kitchen, it was bizarre to me because I had never been exposed to that. And I was kind of like, ew, that's nasty,
Yeah.
But I got used to it. It was like I was living with him and this was his life. So it was kind of becoming my life. So I was really intrigued by it. And then the following summer, he bought me a rifle for my birthday. And then we went hunting in rifle season that November, and I shot my first deer, which was like a little button buck. And it was so exciting at first, but then almost immediately I was like, oh my gosh, I've just killed an animal. What did I do? Why did I kill this thing?
Yeah.
Like it was so sad. And then it kind of was more reason like, okay, but we're going to eat this. I'm not just out here like killing animals to kill animals,
right?
So it was kind of that excitement, regret, reasoning. And then after that, I was pretty much hooked. Like that following spring, went turkey hunting, got my first turkeys. The following year, got a really my biggest buck ever. Started bow hunting and just kind of fell in love with that lifestyle. And just because I love to eat, first of all.
Yeah.
And so just having that new and different way to get the food that I want versus going to the grocery store and just picking up something off of a shelf that you don't know where it came from, how it was handled, anything about it. And this kind of really took my love of food to that next level, because we both really like to cook. So it was a really interesting way to kind of familiarize yourself, I guess, with what you're eating and what you're putting in your body. I'm not like the healthiest person by any means, but I do try to at least pay attention to the kind of chemical aspect of what's going in my body.
Right.
And even with like cleaning products and stuff, I'm pretty conscious of that. So hunting was just another way to kind of take that a step forward. And like I said, I just kind of fell in love with it. It wasn't something I ever knew I wanted to do until it was right in front of me. And then I fell in love with it.
I think I'm very similar. I didn't hunt until 2013, and I was 33 at the time. And that it threw me into that. We had kind of been my husband hunted, but we had kind of been on a journey through finding out about kids having allergies and things like that on cooking. And I'd always loved cooking, but it took it to a different level when you have to be more aware. And you have to cook everything that you do because of allergies. And so when venison entered our household and figuring out how to cook it in a way that, I mean, we're so used to it that beef actually hurts our stomachs. And so, especially store-bought beef.
Yeah.
And so we haven't for years bought store-bought beef, but introducing other people into a venison meal, finding creative ways to where you can still taste the venison, but it's good, has been something that, I don't know, I'm kind of proud of, and in a good way, not in a selfish, motivating kind of, but in a, hey, come to my house and try it. Don't knock it till you try it, but try it, and try it in this way, not just, somebody gave you some venison jerky, which is delicious, but, try it in a good, balanced way that's been processed from beginning to end by two hands, and then let us know what you're doing. But it has been a process. There's this side of it of bringing meat into our family, but we were talking the other day about, there's a sense of confidence that comes from getting further into hunting. And it's not a confidence of, well, I'm a badass. There's a little bit of that, but I think it's more of a sense of we can take care of ourselves. We know how to do this. We know how to take it from the beginning to the end. And there's that sense of pride in it, but a confidence kind of pride. And I think that there's a lot of growth that comes from it, from humbling experiences all the way through. So I don't know, progressing, I don't know if it's the same for you, but progressing from being a non-hunter into where I am today, looking back and seeing all of those lessons along the way, there is a sense of pride of seeing how far I've come myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I completely agree, because it is very easy to just go to the grocery store, grab a pack of meat, come home, cook it, whatever, you're done. To actually put in the effort and work to over and over and over again, to maybe still not come home with anything from your hunt, it's a very humbling experience.
Yeah.
To go out there day after day after day. And out here, it is very different hunting in Idaho than it was in Kentucky. We could bait there. We had food plots and corn feeders and mineral blocks and all that. We can't do that here. It is boots on the ground, hike up and down mountains over and over and over, and hope that something steps out so that you can get a shot, usually with a bow. So it's not like it's just going out and shooting an animal. Like, it is hard work. And then it's not taking your four-wheeler to go get your deer or your elk or whatever off the mountain. It's cutting it up on the mountain, packing it on your back, multiple trips up and down, And so when you get that thing home and you get it butchered and packaged and you start cooking that meal and you sit down to eat, it's like, wow, I worked really hard for this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We have a wall of firsts, and we've got, our house is kind of open. So we have the kitchen, dining room, and den all together. And we have our wall of first within viewing of the kitchen and of the dining table. And so seeing, my first buck on the wall and seeing my son's first buck, which is a button buck, like we did a Euro mount of his button buck, and being able to see that and see the pride of, hey, that was my harvest. That's what we're eating.
Yep.
I like to label all of our packages whose deer it is. And so you get it takes the story back to that hunt. You pull it out and you go, this was the date that this happened. This was so-and-so's deer. We get to sit around the table and be very thankful for that exact date that it happened. And, we use it throughout the year. So it's a constant reminder of those hunts. In Tennessee, you can't bait, but you can do food plots and you can put out salt licks and things like that. But we hunted back in October, and my husband got a buck, and it was the mountainside was so steep of where we were that there was no four-wheeler. There was there's no way of dragging that deer up. And so we actually had to do the, butcher in the field and carry the meat back with us. And I don't think a lot of people, when you hunt within your state, in Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, you don't have that opportunity. So there was excitement in that, of being able to put in that hard work, that climb up the side of the mountain with food on your back. And being able to say, we did that as a family, we did that. And you grow a lot from those, and you feel your sore muscles that night and the next day. And like you said,
a lot of people say, the hard work begins once the animal's down. And that is true. Like, the hunt is hard, but getting it off that mountain is a whole lot harder.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And it's a good hard work.
It's a good hard.
Yeah, it's a good hard. It's one that you look back on and say, we did that. And
it was an accomplishment at that point. It's not just shooting an animal.
Right.
You've accomplished a feat once you've done that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and there's a time sensitivity too, right? If it's warm, depending on the temperature, depending on where you are, depending all of that, it's like you said, as soon as that shot happens, that's when the hard work happens. And it is a rush to get everything back so that you are keeping that meat as good as possible, and respecting the loss of life.
Absolutely. Like this year during archery season, John and I hunted probably, 22 days of the 30 days that we had. And, it was just constant because that is what we eat. And it would, the way we hunt is he wants to give me first shot, but I'm always like, if you've got a shot, take it. Don't wait for me. If you can get a shot, take it. We need meat in the freezer.
Right.
And so we didn't even have a shot this year until one morning. We got out of the car, started walking up the mountain, and there was a car still on the road, and it stopped. Well, of course, we see two elk, a cow and a bull, cross right in front of this car. And we're like, great. It went like completely opposite of the way we were going. Like, great. This is, so frustrating. So we start going up, and, we get into this one little spot where we had seen a lot of bedding and everything. And he just gave out like a real soft cow call. And all of a sudden this bull like bugled. He was maybe 50 yards away, but in this thick brush. And so I went down a little bit. John went up a little bit. He cow called again. All of a sudden this cow came through, like kind of trotting quickly, and the bull came out, and John had a shot, but it was early morning still, but it was going to be like 85 degrees that day.
Right.
So we couldn't do anything, but, first, like, give it time. Like, I saw the shot. It looked good. It sounded good. But this bull ran into this thick brush, and we heard it kind of crash, but we weren't 100% sure and didn't want to, jump it and have it run to who knows where.
Right.
So we just kind of sat for like an hour. And I'm like, I'm 99% sure this bull crashed like right there. And John's like, I am too. I'm just, we didn't want to spook it if he wasn't dead. So we walked over there finally, and he had piled up, almost immediately. But at that point, we had shed our jackets, our outer layers, and we're down to like pants and a t-shirt trying to get this thing out of this brush. Get in the way he like twisted up. We spent like 3 hours up there just trying to, in the position that he was in, trying to get it cut up, quartered, and get all the meat off of it. And I think it was 3 trips up and down to get all the meat to the car. Yeah. Luckily, it wasn't super far, but it was a pretty steep little climb into some really thick brush. And, John carried out the head, and it was a nice, 6x6. But even just getting like the head, the head itself is heavy.
Right.
Getting that thing, all the antlers through all the brush and everything, when you've already done, walked up and down 3 times now.
In the heat.
It's hard work in the heat. Exactly. Yeah. And there was no option. We had to get it off the mountain, So by the time we got home, it was like, put the meat in the refrigerator. I'm going to take a shower and lay down from it.
I think that's the best part about aging meat. It's a perfect opportunity to say, okay, we get a breather for a couple days.
Exactly.
We've got 2 deer in the fridge right now. One from last Wednesday and one from Saturday. And so it's nice to kind of have it spread out just a little bit so that we can process one today and then process another one on Thursday. And we're gifting the one on Thursday to a friend of ours who's a single mom. And it is, a great thing when you're able to do that, when you're able to share with other people the harvest. But it's even more amazing when they say, hey, I'd like to come help you do that. And learn and be a part of it. And so, she's not a hunter, and yet she still wants to be a part of that processing part as much as she can. And I love that part of it, sharing that with people and teaching. And I'm from a surgical background, so I love the part of butchering because it's so, if you do it right, it's fairly easy because you can mark things out, and it's like a puzzle put together that you just have to take apart. But the processing part, there's, like you said in the beginning, it seems kind of gross. Like, it's kind of yuck when you don't know the process of getting there to that point. And so, I don't know, it's a great science lesson for kids and for anybody who's coming through learning about it. But I think that this is our second year butchering and processing on our own. And there is so much more gratification that comes from it than I could have ever expected. Very grateful for it. Very grateful for it.
Yeah, we do all of ours. We do ours. Cutting and wrapping is fairly simple. But we, bratwurst and summer sausage, Italian sausage, jerky, chorizo, pretty much. Because again, we like to eat and we like to eat good food. So that's been a really good way for us to kind of expand what we like to eat. But then, we've got a lot of friends that hunt, and obviously being out here, and we do a lot of butchering for our friends, making them sausages and things like that. And, but we've got plenty of people that are like, we'll do it for you, but come and learn with us.
Right.
That's one thing that John loves teaching people. He, would rather take somebody new to hunt and him just be the observer, the teacher, mentor, than to hunt on his own. He loves teaching. So that's one thing that he's really done with a lot of his friends is, I'll butcher this animal for you, but you come over and you do a ham and I'll do a ham, and you just mirror what I do. That way you learn how to do it. And then you're not asking me to do it or having to pay somebody else to do it. And you get to be part of that extended hunt, part of that experience. So
when my husband was the only one hunting, 1 or 2 deer, paying a processor to do it for you, that it wasn't as expensive as when you now have 4 hunters in the family.
Yeah.
And here in Tennessee, you can take so many deer that, the getting 5 deer in a year and paying $80+ per deer, it then becomes too expensive. So it was no questions asked that we had to learn how to do that. And I'm so glad that we had somebody show us.
Too, like this year, it's with everything with COVID and everything, a lot of butchers aren't taking wild game because they've got so much beef and pork that they're having to do that. I mean, we've got processors here. They're like, I can't take any more. Sorry. I've got friends in other places that are like, they're backed up until like March.
Yes.
So, and so you're kind of at the mercy of figuring it out or finding somebody else to do it because the place where you normally go can't do it. And there's a lady in like the next town over. We've done several deer and elk this year for some friends because the people they normally take it to, the lady had COVID.
Wow.
So she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, seriously, I wouldn't want to take my food there.
No.
You know, who knows? I think it would be safe, but you never know.
You never know.
So, and she was like, I can't do it. So they're stuck and I've got this deer or this elk and I don't know what to do with it because I don't know what to do.
Well, that shows you also hunters helping other hunters and supporting each other and growing alongside of each other and being willing to teach. And that, like you said, there's joy that comes from it. And I think teaching makes us better hunters because it is a constant reminder of where you were years ago when you started.
Well, it kind of resets your perspective too. Like I think if you've hunted for years and years and years and you've got these perceptions that, oh, you're great or you're a good hunter because you've got all this experience. But when you see like the perspective of somebody that's brand new and kind of looking at it through their lens now and taking a step back to, okay, now I understand what they're going through. And I think that kind of resets your perspective and kind of your expectations of what a hunt should be.
Yeah. That reminder for me, it always keeps me humble. It always keeps me that step of there's always something more to learn. There's always another lesson to learn. There's always something. And if I, at any point, look on somebody else and say, you can do it on your own, then I'm not the hunter that I was always hoping to be. That
you never stop learning.
No. And that's the exciting part of hunting is that you can never be bored. You're always growing. Even changing it up. If you're on private land, it's like, man, this is just becoming a little monotonous, or step out on public land, grow, put yourself in situations that push you further outside of your comfort zone. And you did that moving from Kentucky out west. Did you have
very different.
I've talked to a couple of people that, just moving, just the move itself, there's a little bit of this learning time that you don't necessarily harvest like you hope to right off the bat, because you've got to learn a whole different way of hunting.
Yeah, like we had been out. The reason we picked to move where we did is because we had been out here several years, just coming out as a non-residence to hunt. And we had some friends out in this area. So we were semi-familiar with it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we just picked the spot on the map and was like, oh, let's move here. We had some familiarity with it. But being out here for, 5 to 7 days on a hunt with people that know the area, and you're hunting with people that live here, versus moving out here and trying to figure it out on your own and having a lot more land available to you, a lot more species. There's a huge learning curve versus, somebody taking you out and, not guiding, because obviously they're just our friends, but kind of helping you navigate where you need to go. And they've scouted for us all summer, looking for the elk and everything. But when we get out here on your own, you've got to do that and figure it out. Because these guys, like, they have their own tags to fill. They can't take a week and like walk around the mountains with us,
Right.
It's like, you listen out, you got to figure it out. And that's what we did. So the first year, we weren't officially residents until November, right around this time, actually. And all the non-resident tags were sold out anyway. So we ended up getting an over-the-counter elk tag, November, and there was like the end of a rifle hunt for cows was still in. We did not harvest, and then there was a muzzleloader in December that was part of that tag. And John ended up getting a tag or getting an elk then on some private land. I did not. And then I guess, what was that? 2017, 2018, he got a moose. He drew a moose tag that year. So funny story, it actually like walked into our camp. So we didn't actually have to do any work really. It was, like, I swear, that was like the luckiest thing ever. Cause like first, moose is a once in a lifetime tag out here. And he drew it the first year he put in. And then we had gotten up late that morning at camp. We were elk hunting. We weren't even like moose hunting. We were out elk hunting because we both had archery tags. And I'm sitting in the truck. John's gathering all his stuff, getting his coffee, opens the back door of the truck, sticks his bow in, and like closes the door. And when he turns around, there's literally a moose standing like 40 yards away, like a nice moose, you know? And he was, all of a sudden he's like, "Where's my bow? Where's my release? Where's my range finder?" I'm like, "Huh?" I don't even know what's going on. And I look up and there's a moose standing there, and I'm trying to range it, and it's like going through the windshield, so it's not working right. So I just throw in my release because I already had it on, and we use the same kind of release. So I threw in mine. He gets like range finds us. It's like 45 yards. And it starts to turn around and starts to walk away. And he takes the shot, and he gets like back of one lung, I think, and like liver or something.
Yeah.
And so it kind of walked over like 50 yards and kind of stood there and fell. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, we can't believe this happened. And then all of a sudden this thing like gets back up and like walks some more. And I'm like, oh my God, the moose is up. And then he just walks over like 50 yards and falls over again. And we literally backed the truck up to it and butchered it into the truck.
Wow.
Because I'm over here like, man, this moose, it's going to be like 10 miles back up a mountain. We're never going to get off the mountain. Well, no, that's going to be the moose that I eventually get is going to be 10 miles up the mountain. This one died in camp, and we backed the truck up to it.
That is called a gift walking toward you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Luckier than that.
That does not happen.
No. So it was other than that specific situation, like it was hard learning where to hunt because we knew some specific areas, but finding new areas because the units that we hunt in are big.
Yeah.
And it's private mixed with public. So trying to figure out where you can hunt and getting access and, you know, will these people let us hunt or at least cross their property to get to public, you know, so it is. And in Kentucky, we had our own farm. We had our little house on 7 acres. And then just a mile down the road, we had a 35 acre farm that we bought specifically to hunt.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get property to hunt on there because everybody's already got permission.
Right.
And public land there. I mean, Kentucky has a lot of management areas, but they're full of people, and you can really only hunt in archery or get drawn for the management areas in the rifle hunt. So we ended up just buying a farm there so we could have a place to hunt. So being able to have that and having our own little private deer haven basically is very different than coming out to Idaho.
Yeah. And
pretty much being forced to hunt public land.
Yep.
With everybody else. And
so here we have hunted public land here, and they're small parcels. So it's kind of just like spotty areas that you can have access to and get into just in our area. It's just small parcels of areas that you can get into. And there are only specific places that you can set up for hunting. Right. And it does. You drive in and there are 4 cars and you drive to the next one. And so that there's difficulty with that with smaller parcels because you're fighting for the opportunity to hunt it. You jump over to large parcels of management land that you can hunt on. And then it's like, well, where is everything? Where am I finding sign? Where you've got a larger area to spread out, but then you've got a larger area to scout. And so there are there are pros and cons to both, right?
Absolutely.
There's goods and bads, and there struggles on both sides of it. But it really does come down to how much work are you willing to put into it. And that's when you see the fruition come through of it working out and getting, even though you're still working years and years down the road, being familiar with that land gives you more confidence in hunting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited about that move that you guys did. It sounds like a dream move. Even though the hard work has been there, it has been something that you guys have loved and are glad that you took the step forward into it.
We absolutely are. Like, I can't even imagine moving back to Kentucky. Like, I love Kentucky. My family's all still there.
Yeah.
It was, great place to grow up. It's beautiful. But I just love it here. I mean, it's just so different. The winters are pretty tough. Get a lot of snow, which we don't get much of in Kentucky.
Right.
But it's just different, and I love it. And my family will come and visit me, and they love it. And it's just, I don't know. I can't ever imagine moving back to Kentucky. Like, I really just love where we live.
Yeah.
For so many reasons.
Well, the year that I moved away from home, I said, I'm never coming back. And it's not because I didn't love it. It has memories. It was a great place to grow up. My family's all still there. But for me, stepping outside and creating a new home somewhere that works for me has been the adventure that I love. Yeah. And one day it might be nice. My kids will be grown in, let's see, 12, I'm doing the math, 8 years. 8 years, my youngest will be going off to college. And so it will be nice to kind of figure out then, well, what do we want to do now? We're still young. We're still able to do fun, adventuresome stuff. And what can we do now? And so it'll be interesting to see where we go from there. Will we go mountains? Will we go out west? What will we do? But like you said, it offers opportunity for family to come visit different places. Yep. And it can be, secluded from family when you move off, but it also makes the time with family a little bit
absolutely
more treasured when you do get together.
And the worst thing is
what?
You don't like it and you leave.
Yeah, right.
You go somewhere else. You go back. And that's what John and I talked about. Because I had never really lived away from home. When I moved from Louisville out to Waddy, that was the furthest I've ever been away from my family. It was like 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But moving out here, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so far. I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
And he's like, worst case, we move back. Like, that's the worst, the worst case is you don't like it and we move back.
Yeah.
Let's give it a year and see how it is. And I love it.
Yeah. You create friendships, you create relationships, and friends become family when you do that.
Yeah.
And you learn how to depend on your significant other by doing that. We have lived in different places in DC. We've lived because of what my husband does, and it has along the way created a lifestyle that we have learned how to depend on each other and not on family at the time. And so it just creates a stronger bind between your significant other and yourself. And hunting does that as well.
Yes.
You definitely work off of each other when you're able to hunt together and help each other. You learn the strengths and weaknesses that you have and how you can fill those voids with the talent that you have and with the talent that they have.
Definitely. Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah. Okay. You are a freelance writer. Let's talk a little bit about what you do. Because it's kind of, you've got a lot of hats that you wear. And so tell us a little bit about how that has evolved, how that began, and what all you have been involved in.
Sure. So I'm a member of Hunter's View. And that's so I joined them in, I guess, like 2016. I applied to be part of their team. Andrea accepted me. Love Andrea. And then part of our kind of team requirements is writing and blogs and things like that. So that's kind of how I got started in writing. I don't have a writing background at all. My background is marketing. Mm-hmm. And so through that, I was mostly just writing for Hunter's View and their website, did a few articles for the Real Camo Girl website. And then I guess it was last year, the editor-in-chief, Tim, from Deercast, which is the Drury Outdoors app, had contacted Andrea about writing, and she recommended me. So I talked to Tim, got him some samples and things, and then joined up with them. And so I've been writing with them for just over like a year and a half almost. And it's really, I like it because I like writing.
Right.
And that was something that I didn't really know I liked doing until I started doing it. The struggle I have with Deercast, it is very whitetail focused, and that's just not how we hunt out here. We have whitetails in some areas, but it's just not the same whitetail hunting that, the eastern half of the United States does. Mm-hmm. So, I find that with writing with them, my goal is to try to find topics that aren't just, food plots, big bucks, sort of thing. But trying to take that kind of knowledge a step further to something that, more than just how to kill a big buck, because there's so many articles like that. We have so many great writers with Deercast that have some really great perspectives and some great experiences that they can write about, but that's just not my wheelhouse. But I do love writing for them because it just gives me another outlet to kind of do something different. So like I said, I've been with them for like a year and a half, I think, just under a year and a half. And then I had been also doing some freelance writing for Basemap. I joined up with them about a year and a half ago, maybe, as an ambassador. And then they were looking for some people to just kind of contribute to their blog and everything. So I sent them, the guy that handles their ambassador programs had sent home some samples. And then he had contacted me about writing their press releases. And so I've been doing that for about a year. So any press releases you see from Basemap, I wrote. I'm their ghostwriter. And then I was laid off from my job in January of this year. Yeah. After 15 years, was laid off from my job. And I had been, again, working with Basemap, really had a good relationship with them. And I was like, hey, if you guys need any help, here's my resume. Let me know. And then just in like August, I think it was, he had messaged me and he was like, hey, are you still looking for a job? We have something that you might be interested in. I'm not really sure. And so I sent him my resume and he sent it off to the guy that was hiring for the position. And Ed comes back and he's like, okay, you're really too overqualified for this. So just talk about these things and if you have an interview and see how it goes. So I did. So I had my interview, didn't hear anything back. And then a couple of weeks later, finally got a message back from the hiring guy offering me the job. So it's doing more customer service oriented and less marketing type stuff. But I love it because Basemap's an app that I've been using for over 2 years now. Mm-hmm. So to be able to work with a company, not only am I already using their product, I'm already a happy customer, but to get to work with them now. And it's a kind of a smaller business. I mean, everybody knows Onyx, mm-hmm. but Basemap it's similar. Obviously, it's got a lot of different features, but it's really nice to be part of kind of something that's kind of early on. Yeah. So, and again, it's something that I've used extensively, especially out here with hunting and private and public land and land ownership and getting permissions and just so many different things like that. So to get to work for them and work with them, kind of understand the background and the back end of it is kind of neat to kind of know what's going on. So
isn't it amazing if you take it back to when you first met John and the whole hunting thing just kind of creeped into your wheelhouse to today. It's the progression of all of it to now having a full-time job. And it's
exactly.
I was talking with a friend of mine who we have a date night every Wednesday night. She lives in California, and we do a call every Wednesday, and we just check in. And she said the same thing to me. Can you imagine back in 2013 when you took hunter safety of where you would be today? Even take it back just 2 years ago, before I was on Instagram as a hunter. To be able to see how far it has progressed, whether it's through the podcast or through how far our family has come, introducing the kids to hunting, all of that kind of stuff, just how far we've come. And I would say it would have surprised me in 2012 when it wasn't even on the docket. But the progression of it and seeing how far it's come and moving like it has, it is more exciting. And it's more, the adventure.
Well, it's like my whole life now.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not just, it's not just my job, or it's not just my hobby.
Yeah.
It's like
it's a passion.
Everything I do, it is. And everything I do is like centered around that in some way, way, shape, or form. And, I met John in 2008. My 20s before that, like I was 28 at the time. Mm-hmm. My whole life in the 20s, I would have never imagined that I would be where I am right now. Like, it was just completely opposite and different than the life that I have now. And I mean, I've had friends and family and coworkers and everybody say, man, I would have never thought that like you'd be where you are. Like I would have never thought that. It's completely different. And it's like, people talk about, if I could just go back to my 20s. I'm like, I would never want to go back to my 20s.
Me neither.
Ever. Like, I'll take my 30s back. That's fine. But I would never go back to my 20s. But it really is interesting to see where I start, to look back and see where I started from ground zero, from absolutely nothing, no knowledge, no history, nothing. Because there's so many people that are like, I started hunting when I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
And, used to go out with my dad and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nope, didn't do that.
Yeah.
And it's like I know that this whole adult onset hunter term, and it's kind of one of those weird things that I don't really like to use, but it's exactly what happened. Like I'm this adult onset hunter. I was already an adult. I was established in my career and my life. And all of a sudden this new thing entered my life, and it completely changed my direction. And now, like I said, it's my whole life. It's everything I do is centered around hunting in some shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah, I would agree with where I have ventured into, and I am grateful for it. Like I said, I wouldn't go back to my 20s. I enjoyed little bits and pieces of it. My kids were born in my 20s. Like there are good parts of it, but the person that I am today, the confidence that I have today in who I am, all of it stems from different experiences in life. But I think that hunting has brought me further than anything else has, other than being a parent. And that coincides with it. So it all has worked together on who I am today. And I don't know, I think if I were to go back to the 90s and talk to my friends in high school, and I don't think that they would ever guess that this is who I would be today. And that's kind of exciting to think about.
And that's the thing I actually love the most, as bad as social media has become. Like that's the piece that I love the most about like Facebook.
Yes.
It's like all of these people have been, and me too, I've been able to witness all of these progressions of all of these different people, and think about, when you see somebody's post that somebody you went to high school with, you're like, man, I would have never thought that, and I'm sure there's so many people that think the same thing about me. I think that about so many people. Like, I would have never thought that person would do that or achieve that or go there or whatever it is, And so I think that's like the aspect of social media that I love and crave. And I like social media. I think it's a neat thing. I'm glad we didn't have it when I was in high school.
Me too.
I mean, really. But I love having it now, because especially living so far away from everybody, it really keeps me in touch with everything and that everybody I know is doing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really a phone person. Like, I don't really like picking up the phone and having calls and things like that. I text message most of the time. And then Facebook, like, I see all of these things and they see what I'm doing. And it's a great way to stay in touch with people. I try to keep all the politics out. I try not to post about that.
Me too.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it's all, I want to see your vacations and your kids and all of those things.
Yeah.
I don't want to see your politics. I don't want to see that kind of stuff. I want to see dogs, funny stuff, vacations, and your kids.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Give me all the dogs.
Exactly.
No, I would agree. And I think that that's something that I have preached a lot about is, there is a downside to social media when it gets to,
people are like hating each other for their opinions.
Yes. And I think that there's a negative side to it, but I think the positive side to it can outshine that negative. And especially for women who hunt, it draws the circle in tighter. And it creates a monologue a dialogue that we can have with each other and learn off of each other, because I don't have a whole lot of people who hunt around me who are female. But
no, me neither. I have none, actually.
Right? None. And so for Instagram especially, Facebook is kind of jumping on it a little bit with groups and support groups for hunters and that kind of thing. But Instagram has been my outlet to learn from other women and to teach. I mean, I haven't been hunting long, but I've been hunting longer than somebody behind me that is just starting. And so if I can learn from somebody and then pass it on to somebody else, then that circle is going to keep going. And it does draw that circle in tighter. And so it doesn't feel like we're so alone in our square mile radius of how far it would be to reach out and touch another lady who hunts.
And, that's the reason I was so interested in joining up with Huntress View and even being involved with Girl Camo Girl, just because I've only met a few of these people in person. I've met Andrea over at Huntress View, Courtney Ogden, Kenzie Edwards, and just a few other random people here and there. But I've never been on hunts with them. I've never done anything like that. But they are still all so supportive, just from a Facebook group perspective, that if I have a bad experience, I can go to them and say, hey, what's your opinion on this? Here's what happened. What would you do? Or give me your insight. And I love being that person for somebody else too. So being able to have that small group of women who are familiar with your experiences, have probably had similar experiences, to be able to get feedback from them is so comforting when you don't have a friend group in person right here that you can call up and, go to or go have a drink with or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so nice to have that. And I think that's something that I have been very dependent on, them sharing their experiences with me and me being able to share mine with them, because I think it can help if it's something that will help somebody else. I'll absolutely share my experience with you. And I will give you my opinion if you ask for it. And I will give you my honest opinion.
Right.
But I think that's that aspect of social media, and especially, like you said, for women hunters, because a lot of us don't have that outlet in person.
Yeah.
That it really gives us that kind of outlet to gain more, understanding and information and insights from other people, where we wouldn't have that otherwise.
Agreed. I think people would ask, well, why is Miss Pursuit having somebody on right now who helps another company just like them? Like that. The thing is it's not a competition, right?
No.
I don't think.
I feel like there's so many women's groups that are like partners with each other, and they're all very supportive of each other.
Yes.
I mean, like on the hunt, I handle the social media pages for Huntress View. And I mean, I'm always sharing like other women's pages stuff.
And I think
it's like, we're in this together.
100%. And I think if you only had one, if the competition was to only have one, then you couldn't personally touch as many women out there that all of these groups can. And they're in different areas of the United States. It opens up the possibility for different hunts. It opens up the possibility for relationships to grow, whether you are in the Northeast or the Northwest or in the Midwest or the South. Like, there are all of these different groups that can work together. And, say I have a friend in some part of the United States, I can reach out to all of these women that I've kept in touch with, no matter what group they're a part of, and say, hey, here's a sister you need to talk to. Here's somebody that's within hunting range of you that you can connect with. Here is, and I think that that's the best part of it. I podcast for Miss Pursuit. I podcast for my own podcast, Her Wild Outdoors, and we work alongside of each other because we're supporting women in our community as hunters. And that is the number one goal. It's not the competition of it. It's not who is better than who. It is how can we support each other. And I think that's why podcast episodes like this are so important, because you see that. You see if I can straighten your crown quietly, or if I can lift you up without anybody even noticing, if I can, give you a platform that will help you grow, that helps me. And man, I have learned so much from all of the podcasts that I have done. I did it because I had not heard of other podcasts, and I needed to hear these stories in order to grow as a better hunter. And so that, man, I've enjoyed that more than anything, just me getting out of these conversations what I have needed as a woman in our community. So,
well, just seeing and hearing so many other people doing and experiencing and, having all of these other experiences that maybe you never even knew was a thing.
Right.
And, just kind of seeing all of these other successes these women are having. And I love to celebrate that.
Yes.
My hunting season this year has been very nil on filling tags. Mm-hmm. But I love seeing everything else that everybody else is killing out there.
Yeah.
And if you look at my Instagram stories, this time of year especially, it's congratulations on your big buck.
Yes.
Congratulations on your doe. Congratulations on your elk.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome to see so many people out there doing great things. And I feel like there's so many pages out there that are very, and it's not a bad thing, very male focused, that post a lot of pictures for guys. And I want to be part of that page and part of that group of people that really supports all those women.
Yes.
And not women that are just out there trying to get likes and followers. If that's your thing, that's your thing. Who am I to judge? But there's a ton of women out there that are out there putting in so much hard work, putting boots on the ground, and not getting recognition for that maybe their picture only has 20 likes. I don't care if it has 20 or 20,000.
You worked on it.
Picture,
yes.
They worked hard for it. Get it, girl. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I want to celebrate that with them. And I want to share their picture. Maybe they have more followers than me. Maybe they have less. I don't care. I'm going to tell them, I'm really proud of you for doing this.
Yeah.
And that's why I take those pictures.
Yep. I was talking to the Tennessee Wildlife Federation here in Tennessee. I was talking to a guy who is a part of it's the Hunting and Fishing Academy here in Tennessee. And it has been going on for quite a while, but he said recently we've had a lot of women wanting to join. Unusually, and he said unusually, but to me it didn't surprise me. He said a lot of single women, a lot of single moms. And it's because they want to learn how to do this so that they can take their kids, because maybe their kids are interested in it, or maybe it's just something they can do together. But they need instructors. They need volunteers. They need mentors who are women, because you can show up to a class, whether it's BOW, whether it's, a hunting fishing academy, whatever it is, you can show up to a class as a woman. If all the instructors and mentors are men, you meet them for a couple of hours for a class, and then you go out on a hunt by yourself with a male mentor. There's nothing wrong with that, But if there was a female mentor that could walk out in the woods with you and sit with you all day, you will be a little bit more comfortable, but B, you will learn a lot. You will open up and confide a little bit more, and you'll feel there's a confidant situation happening there that you can ask questions that you wouldn't maybe necessarily ask if it was a man. So I think that it's worth reaching out to your, whether it is your Wildlife Federation or whether it's, we've got TWRA, our wildlife agency, whoever it is, reaching out as a woman, teaching hunter safety, getting involved, like doing all of these things so that women see other women doing it. And that's just a way that you can pick and choose of when you're a part of it. It doesn't take a whole lot of time away from your own hunt, but it allows yourself to be a part of the growing group of women moving forward in our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, I appreciate your time. Hugely appreciate your time. Tell everybody how they can follow you.
So I would prefer Instagram or Facebook. Mm-hmm. Instagram is @WaddySarah, which is WADDYSARAH. And then on Facebook, it's just Sarah Honadel. And that's it. I mean, I don't do like TikTok or Snapchat or I don't do any of the new Me, We, and Parlor and any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, those are my things.
Yeah.
Obviously follow Huntress View, follow Miss Pursuit.
Deercast base map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Deercast, and the thing is with Deercast, it is very male focused, but I have been seeing other women posting about like looking at the Deercast app. Is a good time to hunt. So definitely download that app. There's a lot of really great information out there.
Well, and you're not going to get women. You're not going to get it. It's the more women that get involved with it, the more it's going to grow.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And it's not like the content itself isn't like male focused or female focused. It's just like general knowledge type information. So it's as a hunter, it would be information that you would find beneficial. So definitely check that out. If you're a woman out there that's interested in hunting, connect with other women. Everybody loves to teach somebody else, and you can learn something from everybody. So I would just say for anybody that's out there that's, interested in hunting but doesn't know where to start, there's a ton of places. Get in touch with anybody, get in touch with me, anybody on, Miss Pursuit, Huntress View, Real Camo Girl, She Huntress, any of those pages. There's a ton of women out there that hunt and are willing and able to help you. If you're interested and want to learn. So
awesome. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.